right, hello wine drinking people. Today is the 3rd of January and we're off to a running start here in the year 2013, and you know, what better way to start the year off than a little Bordeaux tasting, one of the most popular wines in the world, one of my favorite wines. I've traveled to Bordeaux I don't know how many times to taste the young wines at the Grand Cru tasting in early March or late March, early April, and I can tell you, always a good time. Nobody puts on a party like the Bordelais. And the wines just go from strength to strength. The last few vintages have been outstanding from Bordeaux, 2009 and 2010, two classic vintages, with 2009 meriting 19 wines that scored 100 points from Sir Robert Parker Jr., making that the greatest vintage of all time. And, you know, Mr. Parker scores are really all that matters in Bordeaux. That's really what all the pricing and all the when the people are chasing the wines, that's pretty much what they're chasing, the highest rated wines of the vintage. And I'm here to tell you that there are a lot of great wines made in Bordeaux that don't get 100-point scores. 2010, a classic year. A lot of people feel even better than 2009, which produced a bevy of wines that had luscious forward fruits, a very appealing vintage young, even though the wines have got the structure to age for a long time. So we're going to be focusing on 2009. That's pretty much what a lot of chateaus have in the marketplace right now. A few 2008s in the mix, and then releasing some 2010 vintage wines like the Chateau Haut Beausejour, which we're spotlighting on today's email. All right, well, we've got 8 wines, and we're featuring all 3 types of wines made in Bordeaux on this offering. We've got the white wines. Most people don't realize they make some of the world's greatest white wines in Bordeaux from Graves, one of the closest wine producing region to the city of Bordeaux. And then you have Pessac-Léognan, which is just a little further south, and they produce the greatest white wines made in Bordeaux, like Chateau Haut Blanc, Chateau Pas Clement Blanc. These wines are even more expensive than their red counterparts because there's much less production of these ones. Well, we don't have anything like that on the table. This is one of our $35 tasting. This is an introduction to Bordeaux. We're not going to have any Chateau Lafite on the table or Chateau Pichon Comtesse de Lalande, another property that the Rouzon family that owns Chateau Champagne Louis Roederer owns also, in addition to Haut Beausejour. But they bought this property. We're also going to be showing the sweet wines of Bordeaux, which a lot of people don't realize. I don't want to say they invented sweet wines, but this type of sweet wines where the grapes actually sit on the vines and rot, rot's called botrytis, really was kind of invented in Bordeaux in the Sauternes region. We've got one of the top-level Sauternes, Briousac, on the table tonight. So an incredible lineup of 8 wines. As I mentioned before, we're spotlighting the Chateau Haut Beausejour. We got an incredible deal on this 2010 vintage wine, which, like as I mentioned before, is a classic vintage in Bordeaux, a vintage that is going to age for 10, 20, 30 years or more. Even a wine like this, I had this wine open on the second day, and it was just starting to open up. Saint Estèphe, also a little more austere than some of the upper appellations on the left bank. As I mentioned before, this property is now owned by the same family that owned Champagne Louis Roederer. They bought it in 1992. Actually, it was a combination of 2 properties, Chateau Picard and Chateau Beausejour, which they combined into one property. And actually, it was 31 hectares, 27 hectares of vineyards, and they kept the best of those, which were on the slope known as Haut Beausejour, and renamed the property Haut Beausejour. The remaining the remaining property was sold off in '97 to the Dutch merchant Mallard Baas, which renamed it Chateau Picard, which thus Mr. Picard, one of the owners of Mallard Baas, lives on the property now. But Chateau Haut Beausejour has been completely revitalized, and an amazing job that they've done with this label just in the last 20 years. Now, one of the best values you'll find from Saint Estèphe, which is on the northern end of the Medoc, the Haut-Medoc, the left bank, and this vineyard is planted to 40% Cabernet Sauvignon, 50% Merlot. That's right, folks, more Merlot here than Cabernet, but you would never know it in this wine. It is deep, intense, and has a lot of structure. As I mentioned before, I had this wine open for 2 days, and it just started to open up. We have the best price in the country on this wine. It is on sale for $24, available in many other places at around $35. We've just been waiting for the 2010s to go on deal, and we knew it was going to happen. They opened up at more expensive prices than the 2009, which got higher scores, and you know what that means? Going to be a sale at some point. All right, folks, check it out. Everything we're going to be drinking next Wednesday night at Cafe Maxx, and our incredible deal on Chateau Haut Beausejour. I'm your host, Andrew Lampasoni, signing off for the Wine Watch, saying remember, always drink the good stuff first.